Hey, welcome to A Conversation With. My name is Philip DeFranco, and today we are having a conversation with the fantastic Marisha Ray. Hello.
Hello, Phil. How are you?
I like that we were just talking, and all of a sudden we both were like, and now 30% more energy. No, it's good to be able to talk with the better half. Am I allowed to say that? Does that ever get old?
I mean, I'll take it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to pull like some Matt Mercer shit where I'm like, no, he's amazing. It's incredible. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah, that's you know what? Because you mentioned Matt, I just remembered something. We're going to get to it.
Okay.
Marisha, if for some reason someone doesn't know who you are right out of the gate.
Sure.
Who are you? How would you explain it? I'm going to put you through that, even though you have a big resume.
Yeah, of course, man. It's always hard to describe what you do for a living, but I am Marisha Ray. I am the creative director as well as a cast member for Critical Role, which is a live tabletop RPG streaming podcast extravaganza. And I'm also a voice actor when I have time these days.
When I have that time.
Yeah. But if you guys already met Matt, he's the dungeon master for Critical Role, doing creative direction. I'm a little bit more puppet mastering behind the scenes, just a little bit. Got to bring that production representation,
Yeah. No, so the thing that I was going to say right at the beginning, I forgot about this. My wife told me after I interviewed Matt that her ex-boyfriend from high school or college hit her up. And I was like, okay. And she was like, oh, maybe he's checking in on me. Maybe he's like, hey, what's up? Pulling that card. This dude slid into my wife's DMs after 10 to 12. Well, no, it had to be 12 years because he was like, yo, can you get Phil to ask a question to Matt? And I was like, that's kind of funny, but I think she was a little disappointed that she didn't get to play the I'm married card.
Oh, you're still thinking of me after all these years. Yeah.
But he also asked a question for you. Lindsay sent it to me somewhere. I'm gonna have her resend it, but I want to make sure, Josh, your question's coming. Buddy, I love you. I love your face. I appreciate you sliding into my wife's DMs for a non-creepy reason. For a woman on the internet, that is rarely the case. So I appreciate you, buddy. Marisha, I'm gonna do something different because I was saying your fan base actually has good questions for you, and I want to jump kind of straight into that. So are you ready?
I'm so ready.
And I think awesome. So this is from Erica, and she said she wants to know more about you being a street performer at one point and what cool performances you did, but also you were a street performer? What is this? What happened?
Yeah. I was a street performer. It's funny, when I was doing this type of, when I was a busker back in the day, I was like, this is going to be great when I'm asked to do my true Hollywood story. This is just going to be phenomenal. And I feel like this is the closest I'm probably going to get to that true Hollywood interview. So thank you.
I'm glad to be that, but I don't know. Your Critical Role is like, it's the more that I knew it was the case before I did the interview with Matt, but definitely after the fact, just seeing the level of community you guys have. Like, it's wild. Like, I would take 100 of your fans over like 5,000 of any other kind of general viewership, because it is hardcore and like not, at least in my experience, not toxic hardcore, which is a rare double or pairing. Yeah.
They're amazing. Our community is incredible. They're so like kind and generous, and they also they take no shit. So if any toxicity comes into the fan base, they're like our little white blood cells. They're just like, nah, not here. We don't entertain that. So I mean, they're absolutely amazing, but very dedicated to have such a positive fan base. But street performing.
Sorry, I'm the king of sidetracking people.
This might be a very off the rails interview then, because I could tangent for days. So here we go. When I first moved to Los Angeles, I moved here in 2008. And of course, with the intention of every person who moves to Los Angeles, where I'm like, I'm gonna be an actor. I'm going to do this. I'm going to jump in and be a big star. And pretty much months after I moved here, just like weeks even, the writer's strike happened. And everything came to a screeching halt. So I was like auditioning for a little bit, doing that thing. And then I was also, it was right when Hillary and Obama were running back in 2008. So I was making cash on the side canvassing, which was crazy. I like fresh off of the boat here in Los Angeles. And then I'm like dropped in random places of the city asking people on the street if they want to talk about politics. Yeah.
Fun.
Looking back, it was wild. And then all of that kind of wrapped up. And I didn't really have a job. And at the time, the guy that I was dating worked at the American Eagle Outfitters on Hollywood Boulevard. So a lot of times after I was done working, I would go to Hollywood Boulevard and meet up with him, and we would take the bus home together. I was also riding the bus back then because I didn't have a car. And I would hang out sometimes waiting for him to get off work, and I would see these street characters and watching them just collect these tips left and right. And I'm watching them and I'm like, that Elmo just made more money in 20 minutes than I make in a day. What? And I was like, okay. I was like, well, maybe I could like do this. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I could do this. And I have a dance background. So I hit up my mom and I was like, will you ship me my old tap shoes? Because at the time I was looking at the street characters and I was like, man, that's a little too like, it's too easy. I'm an artist. So I want to be a performer. I want to do something.
Sure.
And so she shipped me my tap shoes. I took our bathroom trash can, dumped it out, wrote tips on the side, and walked out on Hollywood Boulevard and just started tap dancing. And sure enough, just people walking by, throwing dollars, throwing fives, some people quarters. And in the first hour of doing that, I made $75.
Wow.
And I was like, oh shit. Okay. And that allowed me the flexibility to be able to go out, make a little bit of cash when I needed to, but then still, if an audition came up last minute or an opportunity, I could still take off. I was my own boss at that point.
Yeah.
In time, tap dancing was not sustainable. I was getting blisters on my feet to the point of where like blood was coming out of my tap shoes. It wasn't good. And I ended up transitioning to one of those Hollywood Boulevard street characters. I was Tinkerbell for quite a long time, 3 years.
Wow.
3 years on Hollywood Boulevard. And I have stories.
I was going to say, well, is it stories about people or stories about the other characters?
Yes. Yes.
Because, the first time I went there, I didn't really... it had to be like 10 years ago. And like, someone like came up. I don't think it was I don't want to name drop the character, but someone came up and then got like very aggressive about money for a picture I didn't really want to take. And the person with me took a photo and I was just like, this is weird. This is such a weird thing. But so do you ever, okay, so I got to ask about this because that's just, that's what? That's like 70 people in the past 10 years maybe have that experience out of everyone in the world. I don't know how many people cycle through that place.
Yeah, but it takes a certain kind.
Okay, when you say it takes a certain kind, expand on that.
Yeah, well, I look back and I honestly kind of marvel at the fact that like no one told me not to do this. No one was like, you're a young woman standing on the corner of Hollywood and Highland in a tiny green dress. No one was like, maybe this is dangerous. Maybe this is a bad idea. No one said anything. Everyone was like, yeah, go for it. Cool. So I was like, all right. And the kind of mixture of people that are out there, you definitely had your people who were on hard times, people who were maybe homeless. you also had people who were there on their green cards and started running out of money, and you can't get a job if you're here on, just a visa. So they would strap on a costume and start making a little bit of cash so they could get a plane ticket back home. And then you had your kind of third bunch, which was generally the frustrated, out of work creators who needed cash but didn't want to get caught into a circumstance where I didn't move out to Los Angeles to work retail. I didn't move out of Los Angeles to be told, no, you can't take your lunch break to go audition for this thing. I was very, I moved across the country from Kentucky for this. It was crazy. So I wanted to make sure I had that flexibility to still be able to pursue things. And this did offer me that. But yeah, you definitely ended up almost having your factions. And there were people who tried to take a little bit of pride in what we were doing. And the people who you encountered, we colloquially started referring to them as the beggars, where they would force you to take a photo and then get you to tip them. Hey, you owe me money, you owe me money, you owe me money. I never did that. I just stood on the corner and just waited for people to approach me. And especially because I was dressed as Tinkerbell, I had a lot of young girls and kids who were coming up to me, and I didn't, I wasn't blind to that. I was like, this is a little girl who is wanting to have this amazing experience and is thinking that I'm Tinkerbell. So I would always try to do essentially I was like a budget Disney character, trying to do the whole hello, how are you? Oh, come here. I've got a little bit of glitter for some fairy dust, and we're going to take 2 photos. Okay. So it was trying to always be nice and give them hugs and just trying to be kind in that way. And it always worked. It always worked fine. I didn't have to be aggressive with people, because if I took a few minutes with parents and their kids, you're a parent. They're like, she distracted them for 5 minutes. Here's $20. Thank you. Oh, I'll give you anything. But it was a wild time, and I did honestly try to make it a positive experience for anyone who was engaging with me. But on the other hand, I was standing on the corner of Hollywood Boulevard. So, you named it. I was propositioned for prostitution, probably on the weekly. There was codes, there was lingo between us and the other street performers. We kind of had rules where we knew what to do. If you always had to stay across the double line in the sidewalk, because if you stayed across the double line, that was public property. But if you crossed the double line, then you were on Kodak and Hollywood and Highland Mall property. I knew the beat cops. It was this weird ecosystem, and it was wild. It was sometimes I look back at that time and it feels like, those time lapse footage shots that they do in music videos, where it's just me standing on the boulevard and the world is just zipping by me at 1,000,000 miles an hour. But it was a wild time. You could always make more money the later in the evening you got, but that meant you made more money because people were getting drunker and were willing to hand over some cash, but you started dealing with drunk assholes. You could kind of imagine.
So kind of on that, I'm going to, let's try and get a taste of each side. What would you say was one of the best experiences you had doing that? Maybe unexpected, could be celebrity or just something that brought you joy. And what was one of the worst experiences that you would be cool with sharing?
I think it gave me a little bit more empathy and understanding for people who were hard on their luck. Because especially you see some of those street characters and you're like, ugh, smelly, gross, Elmos, smelly, gross, blank, smelly, gross, ugh. And were there definitely people out there who were assholes? Absolutely. There were some people out there, though, who, even though they were, struggling and trying to get by and maybe not maybe they didn't have the best of luck, or maybe they definitely made poor choices to put them there. It didn't mean that they weren't trying to make themselves better and trying to just get a little bit of a leg up, and getting that perspective and making friends with people who are homeless, making friends with people who I think society looks at as like this scourge of humanity. And like I said, there was for sure a subsect of people who had no business being out there interacting with the general public. It's probably dangerous, to be totally honest, to have them out there, but that it was not a generalization. So yeah, just kind of getting to a little bit of a perspective of trying to just keep that in mind when you cross somebody on the street. Like you never know. And just because they're struggling doesn't mean that they're bad people. And it doesn't mean that they're not trying. And it's easy to judge them of like, ooh, they're doing this thing that's kind of maybe taking advantage of the system or whatever. But like, no one else is hiring them. No one else is giving them a shot. So this is them trying to take initiative and give themselves a shot. So I thought that was kind of fascinating, and I loved it. And hearing things, and then you would just talk to people who were actually like doing more of the homeless, just kind of begging on the street. Hey man, you have $5? Hey man, do you have $5? And I knew this one person out there who that was her game. And she had a dog with her, and she was like, yeah, dogs actually make you like double the cash, if you have a dog. And she had these hot spots, and she would start to tell you, she'd be like, yeah, I tend to hit like Pasadena on Friday nights. Like Pasadena's really good, but then I'll head over like Santa Monica Pier during like Saturday. She had places that she knew that were the hustle. I don't know, just it was wild to kind of get a little bit of a taste of kind of that other world that most people, like you said, don't know about and don't want to know about. They're comfier going, huh? So I very much valued kind of getting that perspective.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a lot of people get that. I mean, you can get general struggle, but when things get ugly and there's no safety net, and you and the people around you are experiencing that, there's watching it and living it.
Yeah.
And yeah,
it's easy to judge. It's easy to judge when you're not in it. And it's like, what choices would you make if you were in those situations?
Well, that's when there are nonviolent crimes and people talk about like these big sentences. I'm like, here's the thing. The only reason I'm helpful to society is because the current system has worked out for me, and that's not the case for a lot of people. And so like if it's immigration, if I was like worried about my kids being at risk, I'd run to a fucking other country. I totally understand that. I was like, if I had no money and no one would hire me and things were nasty, I'd steal. Like, I just like, the only reason I'm an okay person is because society has allowed me to exist in this way. Yes, I busted my ass, but I also got lucky. And a lot of people don't get those opportunities or that luck. Or don't figure out how to hold on to it. So no, I get that. Like, and when you were talking about the hotspots, I was like, I respect it. If you anything you do, if you figure out a way to hustle and maximize,
it's a hustle. Yeah.
Min max, go for it.
Yeah. And like you said, like we busted our ass. You have busted your ass. It's just a different kind of hustle, Yeah,
different. Absolutely. There's another world where I became a drug dealer. There's like, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
I mean, there's.
But okay, so
go ahead.
So what would you say is the most? Oh wait, no, we already did. That was the positive. What is the most negative?
The most negative would be, I think, kind of seeing the flip side in a way. We saw, it kind of just what I was just talking about. Like, I got to see this side of society in a more understanding light. Conversely, I saw the way people would treat me when they thought that I was less than, because I was in the position that I was, and they felt like they were in a position of power. So, getting the men who thought it was okay to absolutely slap my ass as I was walking by, the men who, like I said, propositioning me, harassing me for prostitution. I'll never forget one person asking me, how much do you make out here? And I was like, I do fine. Why? He said, well, how much you make in like an hour? And I'm like, I do fine. And he was like, for $100 if you want to come up to my hotel room in the Roosevelt. And I was like, yeah, I can make $100 out here as soon as the Tinkerbell movie in the El Capitan across the street lets out and like 50 little girls in Tinkerbell costumes come out. So I'm gonna do that. Thank you.
So with stuff like that happening, does it make it hard did you ever go through a thing where you were just like, men are disgusting? Because I imagine if you're being hit with that every fucking day, it's even, even though like we have other people that are around us that are better, I imagine it'd be very easy to start generalizing if your experience daily is like, oh, you have no respect for me because I'm a woman out here.
Yeah, it's not even like generalizing against men, but absolutely generalizing against a certain type of man, I would say. Like,
okay,
if a man walked up to me in a suit, I was always way more skeptical, to be totally honest.
Wow.
Because like, why are you approaching me? Do you want a picture with me, businessman in a suit? Tinkerbell, really? Why are you approaching me? Yeah, but like, I can't say that it made me disgusted with men or hate
Sure.
any, like, in a generalizing way, because I was also protected by a lot of good people out there and a lot of good men who I have by my side, who I still to this, I mean, I'm in a male dominated industry on the production side of things, and I love my boys. I love it. And so yeah, I wouldn't say that, but I think I wouldn't blame anyone who would come to that conclusion. I'll say that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, no, that's big of you, because if I reversed it, I was out there, and well, yeah, I mean, it'd be different.
Yeah.
I was like, there shouldn't be double standards, but there are at times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, so wait, so you do that, and then do you have like this first big break? What is that? What gets you allows you to transition to other things?
Well, kind of on the same time, and as I was mentioning earlier, I moved out here during the writer's strike, needed cash, auditioning. I was doing the audition actor game for a while, which sucks. Pour one out for your hardworking, like, your working actor, because it's not fun. If you spend a week of your life doing dozens of auditions and then potentially none of them could come to fruition. So I was doing that game and just kind of started realizing that, like, it wasn't fulfilling me. It wasn't creatively fulfilling. I've always been a creative person. And like, looking back, even in high school and stuff, I was helping produce and I would choreograph the school plays. My family, we love to put on giant ghost runs, like haunted houses during Halloween time, that were these huge productions for this like small family in Kentucky. So looking back, I was always around building and creating things and creating content, to be honest, in a weird way. So I was like, man, beyond auditioning, I just want to do stuff. I just want to do anything. So I ended up joining an improv class and met a handful of good people. And we started doing the thing that a lot of improv troupes did in 2008, which is started filming and recording content and putting it up on YouTube, and started just kind of producing videos. And I quickly started realizing, even if one of my sketches that I wrote only got 1,000 views, it showed my other colleagues in my space that I was serious and that I was producing. Even if it didn't hit the masses in a way, people went like, oh, she's creating shit. And then from there, I actually ended up doing a Batgirl fan film online called Batgirl Spoiled. And that kind of took off in a bigger way because fan films. And there wasn't a lot of media around Batgirl at the time. So that kind of started taking off in a big way. And then from there, just all my fellow, creators in the space. It's, you know how it is. Once you're kind of like indoctrinated and you start meeting other people, people will just start pulling you into their videos because they like you and they're friends. So it kind of started taking off from there. And then that was when, met Matt, met other people in the space, met Felicia Day, and all of that stuff started translating all towards our path of Geek and Sundry and Critical Role and everything that we were doing then. It was all this kind of, you can trace the lines back in the sand of how it all, kind of started ballooning from there. But if I hadn't just started turning on a camera.
Yeah, that's it. That was just the action.
Yeah.
Hey, I just want to take a second to pay some bills and thank one of the sponsors of today's show, Public, and more specifically, publicdefranco.com. If you're looking to invest in the stock market, no matter how big, no matter how small, I highly recommend Public. As a lot of you know, I switched over to Public after not being that happy with one of their competitors, and I have absolutely fallen in love with Public. Not only did I get all the tools that I wanted and the information that I needed, but Public also makes the stock market social. Turns out it's actually really awesome and helpful to share and learn about new ideas and ways to invest with a social community of diverse investors. When I say any amount of money, I mean that. They have features like fractional investing, which, if you don't know, allows you to buy stocks in small slices. And that way, for example, you can get stocks like Tesla, Apple, or Amazon with these big price tags, all without having to spend big. The main thing is to just get started. You could start small, invest $1, $5, $50 or more, and own fractions of all the companies that you love and believe in. And what makes it extra fantastic is if right now you go to publicdefranco.com, you'll receive a free stock once you open an account. Once again, that is publicdefranco.com. Get started today and start thinking about your future. And just as a disclaimer, this is not investment advice, just a company that I use and love. Offer valid for U.S. residents 18 plus and subject to account approval. Zero commission on standard trades. Other fees are associated with trading. Check it all out at publicdefranco.com. But with that said, now back to the podcast. Actually, so with you mentioning Critical Role, I now have the question from Josh, ex-boyfriend from 12 years ago. When Critical Role went off the air last year, how long did it take to come up with the format the show is currently using? And was there ever a time a completely digital format was considered? And have you figured out how your chimney works yet?
Oh, Josh, I see you. Yeah. So now we're in pandemic time. Woo, pandemic time. Oh Lord, yeah. So I mean, I think we were all in the same boat when we all went into lockdown, and it was like, oh man, guys, this is gonna be 2 weeks. This is gonna be fun snow day. How get to take a little bit of a break and watch some Disney movies. That's fun. And then as time went on, quickly started realizing and coming into focus that like, oh, this isn't gonna be 2 weeks. And it kind of went in phases where first our production team was just trying to figure out how we were going to work in this remote setting, in this remote timeline. And all of those little things that you take for granted, I'm sure you guys understand, like, oh, our editors can't go into our office building anymore where they have access to our servers. And, oh, all of our editors aren't utilizing our, fiber Ethernet that we have in the editing space. So exporting videos on commercial grade internet is going to take 24 hours. Oh no. And just trying to figure out, how are we even going to do this? Mm-hmm. All of it. From there, once we cracked that, started cranking out a little bit of socially distant content. That kind of gave us a little bit of a pocket while we released, Zoom, over Zoom, this type of stuff, content to try to bring the show back. And the goal from the beginning, and I said early on and was pretty adamant about it, that I did not want to do it over Zoom. I didn't want to do it over in this digital format because there's 8 of us. There's 8 of us, and everyone has had that experience by now, I'm assuming, of when 8 people are trying to talk in a video conference call. So could you imagine? And then just the delay that you have to deal with, and the magic that we get from the dynamic of the cast in Critical Role is largely based on the ability to be able to actually make contact, like eye contact, and to be able to read each other's body language. And at this point, I know my castmates well enough that I can start to tell if Travis Willingham wants to say something, because I can see it and I know we can read off of each other. And you just really can't truly replicate that with that many people over digital video conference. So as tough of a call as it was to take, we were 3 months off from the show. I don't regret it, because as much as, and our audience was pushing, our audience was like, we swear we would enjoy even a digital like format. We understand it won't be the same quality. We just want to see you guys back. And I'm like, you say that.
Yep.
You say that, but I don't want to look back at the views, several years from now, and look back and see like the decline in viewership from our show, or that it's even looked at as like, oh, well, that was the pandemic time. You can just skip those episodes because they're hard to watch, man. It's, they were doing it all over Zoom. Yeah, and I could just see that future. And that's so much of a part of my job as creative director for the channel, is to try and think of the bigger picture, and to try and think a year in advance, 2 years in advance. And how does this all look when we step away from the campaign and look back on it, and how does it all fit together? And I was like, no, I refuse to compromise, and knew we wanted to get back into the studio. So we, over the summer, when LA and the film academies started kind of coming out with ways to get productions back up and running, we jumped on that. And it was exhausting and stressful, but we did it. And a big point of pride that I actually have looking back at the past years, like, not only did we completely reinvent pretty much from the ground up how we produced the show, no one got sick.
That's big. Yeah. That's big. Because I know a lot of places that tried to go through things and then they got shut down, and then you hear about things where people got sick and then they tried to like keep it hush hush, and then that just puts more people at risk.
Yes.
It was a messy year.
Yeah, very much so. But
yeah, no, but that makes sense. I can't even imagine trying to do 8 people on one thing over the internet. Like, the only reason I'm okay continuing to do this podcast one-on-one is you have issues, but it's still, I can still make eye contact. It pales in comparison to like if I had you in studio, because it's fun. Like, you actually feel the other person. I'm also pretty good at getting people to be very honest about sensitive topics in person. Yeah. So ideally we're doing these in person. And I know that I've like teased it online. I'm so excited about this new place because I want to start doing these with an audience, because it just be fun. The only thing I'm nervous about is the only negative audience experiences I've ever had, and negative is probably too strong of a word, is that with 60 people, sometimes people are like too nice and they're worried about like getting loud and participating, and part of the
you want that.
Oh yeah. And which like you automatically get when you have 1,000 people. You know that it's gonna fire off, but we'll see. I'm very excited. I know that you were just talking about getting your second shot. I got mine coming up in a week, and I don't know. Like, in my head, I'm just like, everyone is gonna go out and do too much initially, right? Like, it's just gonna be, everyone's gonna like go back to their college selves and not realize that they're not necessarily built that way anymore.
Sure.
And just go crazy.
100-year cycles, right? Everyone talks about those 100-year cycles. And if we want to go off of that, we're about to go into our next roaring 20s is kind of what it feels like, right?
Could be.
Like people are going to party so hard. But I agree. I was actually just talking to Matt and a handful of friends the other day. And I was like, here in a few months, we're going to start seeing headlines shift from, that late stage quarantine depression. Yes, it's the light at the end of the tunnel, which means it's worse for everybody right now. And soon we're going to start seeing 43% of people are reporting about social anxiety from being back in crowds again. And if you're feeling it, you're not the only one. I'm waiting for those articles because I already think about it, even just like going around friends again, like people I love. And for the past year, we've trained ourselves: don't hug, don't touch, don't engage, keep your distance. And I do think it's going to be it's going to be an adjustment.
Yeah, I did this to someone last week. I don't know why, as like a goodbye, because I didn't know what to do because we're still avoiding physical touch. And I was like, well, apparently I do this now? Like soldier? Yeah. I'm not even doing it right. All right, I'm going to ask you, I'm intrigued by this one. So Shady Like a Tree asks, how does Marisha handle saying no to her friends' ideas and projects as a creative director?
Oh, wow. That actually is an excellent question. Because it's not always easy, for sure.
Because you got to be the bad guy.
You got to be the bad guy.
No one talks about that part of any power position.
No.
Especially when they're your friends. Like that's why I feel like I've subconsciously kept a lot of people at arm's length, because I'm just like, I might need to say some shit to you at some point that I'm not going to feel comfortable with.
Yeah. I mean, there's like a reason why people tell you not to work with your friends, and it's miraculously worked with Critical Role. But we're all equals. We're all peers in that way in terms of like our duties with the company. So
sure.
But yeah, I mean, there's times where I've brought in friends under me to help with, help produce or help write or help, do any type of creative on some stuff. And I've just gotten comfortable, I think, over these years, knowing what I like. My team knows that I have a pretty big priority for quality, and I don't like publishing rough drafts. I don't like publishing first drafts. I have gotten pretty good at explaining that please don't take any of these notes personally. It's all for the betterment of the end product. And something that hopefully, if you have a good team, they're all invested in that end goal.
I'm just imagining you saying this to creatives and everyone taking it to heart. I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, you hear about the sensitive creative type, and it's true, and it's because being creative, it comes from within. So it's always about like, you're always putting yourself on the line a little bit. And it's never fun when you pitch a joke and someone is like, it's not a funny joke. It's, for me, I think it's just, I've also been on the other end of that a decent amount now at this point in my career. I've gotten defensive, and I've had to go through those similar those rounds in the ring with other creative types when I'm working for somebody. And so I think kind of learning that, building those shields, and then also learning kind of both ways in terms of how you can address somebody in a way that's not going to completely demoralize them. So I always try to, I'm a big believer in the positive comment, critical comment, positive comment approach, like bookending it, like, hey, really like what you're doing. I like these things about it. here's ways that I think we can fix it, in trying to do the balance. And I do find that helps a lot when you're just not only throwing critiques at people, to also be like, by the way, I do like these things. I promise. Like, know that I'm not just saying this for the sake of trying to tear you down.
Yeah, I never mastered how to work with like the more creative type, because like 3 times this week to suits or situations with suits, I think I've literally said the sentence, if they're not okay with it, I'm getting the fuck out of here. I'm not gonna deal with it. And you can't do that with like the people that you're talking about. But then the problem is I'll try too hard to appease. And so sometimes I'll put myself in a place where I'm not comfortable, or I have to do something, or so I've just tried to hire people that can do that job, because I just suck at it.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, man, it's always a balance, right? It's always a balance. And finding it can be tough, and it's also, you got to factor each individual person in how you talk to them and how you work with them. I've also slowly started to grow more towards, if this is too difficult, it's not worth it. If it's like grinding fucking stone on stone trying to get this thing done, then it's probably a sign that it's not worth it, and we'll move on or move to a different direction. But I think also, I understand when I'm in those positions where I'm working with somebody, where I'm working under somebody, and vice versa, when my team is working under me, you have to have one person leading a creative direction. You can contribute, you give ideas. My team,
right.
Critical Role is an amalgamation of my team's creativity. But if you don't have a leader, like, productions do not work on democracy. They just don't. You have to have somebody driving that.
Mm-hmm.
Or else you're going to get a too many cooks thing, and then it's going to look like hot garbage. You can always tell when something is built by committee, because people hate it.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah,
that makes me. Yeah, we had Markiplier on a few weeks ago, and he was like, "You just have to have that like one head person that's like, I know what this is.
Yeah,
I know what this is. Everyone play their part."
Yeah,
yeah.
How many times do you hear people say like, "Oh, I hated the Justice League," because you can see the studio notes. You can tell that the production team was jerked in 30 different directions and they didn't know what to do. You hear that so many times, and that's why. Sometimes you just got to let the director direct.
Did you watch in like the Snyder Cut?
I didn't watch the Snyder Cut.
Ooh, you're not gonna? You're like, I'm not wasting more of my life.
Exactly. I barely have time to watch other content that I know I want to get to. So
you got to dedicate a third of your day
to
watch this thing. Yeah. I never watched the original, so I split it up while I was on my my bike, and I was just like, okay,
yeah.
I'll and they like section it out in chapters. So I was like, it's kind of like I'm watching a mini series. I was like, I can do this.
I would have been into that if they would have like kind of committed to like a mini series approach with it. I would have been into that.
I think if I remember, when you open up the HBO Max app, I think they actually have like lines that tell you where the chapters are.
Really?
But
okay.
I think so. I know that they split it into chapters, but I don't know. I watched it and I was like, oh, this was good. But remembering what the Batman v Superman movie was, I don't know if it was anything resembling that, or I don't know. It was. I like the Snyder Cut. I was like, cool.
Yeah.
But for people that watch the original, I'm intrigued by what that experience is, because I hear it's very different, but it's still 4 hours after you put in 2 hours or 2.5, right?
Yes, because we watched the first one, the original, and legit, it's a bad sign with a movie where Matt and I were having serious debates on if we did actually watch it. We were like, we did see this movie, right? And we did. I think we saw it in theaters and just couldn't. Or did we see? No, maybe we watched it on a plane. See, there you go. Like, I can't even fully track when we watched it, but I mean, it was a hot mess.
You're not alone in thinking that.
Yeah.
Miss Sad Panda asks you, has the online harassment gotten better or worse with campaign 2? And do you have any advice for dealing with harassment for someone looking to get into that creative space? So I don't know if this is something that Matt touched on. What is the harassment with campaign 2? Let me let you relive a hard moment in your life is essentially the question.
Nah, I've been a woman on the internet for a while now. I got it. So for context, in campaign 1 of Critical Role, because we're on campaign 2 now, so we've done 2 separate adventuring groups. In our first one, I played a character named Keyleth, who was unsure of herself, dealt with a lot of self-confidence issues and anxieties, and all the while was trying to follow this path of becoming a respectable leader for her people. So that, she was a big kind of coming of age story, and kind of telling the story of someone who is destined to lead or should lead while questioning everything about themselves that could make them a qualified leader, which I would honestly argue, I think I would like more of that type of quality in our leaders. But that was kind of her whole story, and she was a little bumbly, and she would fuck things up, for lack of a better terms, from time to time, and then be just really hard on herself. A lot of people didn't like Keyleth. They struggled with her or me as a person or a player. I don't know what their deal is, but it got hot, and it got hot enough to where we actually were making jokes about it on our side of things. We came out with the kind of colloquial term that we adopted was #ThanksKeyleth, because the fan base was getting so frustrated. They were like, "Cool, Keyleth fucked something up again. Thanks, Keyleth." So we ended up making buttons one year for a convention that we were at that said #ThanksKeyleth, and they look almost like a political button. So we ended up starting to lean into it, which I was super happy. And it gave me an opportunity, and I'm glad that the rest of the cast and our team behind us supported doing that, because it was able to let me kind of take it back a little bit. And it was able to give me a little bit more of a defense against it by owning it a little bit more and having it be on our terms. So it also, I'm glad we ended up doing that too, because it shined a light on the entire issue and the discussion. And also, while I and Keyleth seemed to be a little bit more of a target, my other female castmates also seemed to get an unbalanced amount of critiques compared to our male counterparts. So I wasn't the only one. And of course, once again, we've seen this several times. The internet gives us plenty of examples on how there is some unbalanced harassment on the internet, depending on who you are. So yes, the harassment has definitely gotten better during campaign 2, and people have laid off. I think people like to try and say that it's because I'm a different character and that, well, this character's not as annoying. But I think it's also very much your preference, and I think that our community has had enough of a light shown on that issue, that kind of what I was talking about earlier, the white blood cells of our community don't really take that shit anymore. And it was actually really cool, and I got to give a shout out to a large portion of our community that took their feelings towards Keyleth and what bothered them about her and actually did what people should do with art and used it for self-reflection and introspection and kind of started asking themselves, why is it that this character bothers them so much? And I saw, especially towards the end of campaign and also in retrospectives, people saying that Keyleth's insecurities made them come to terms with a lot of their own insecurities in themselves, because what they didn't like in Keyleth was really aspects that they didn't like in themselves.
Right.
And I'm like, good. Yes, that's what we all should be doing with this stuff, instead of just like, I hate this for reasons that I don't fully understand, so I'm going to yell at you about it. Why don't you take a moment and instead of just projecting all of that onto these creators and other strangers on the internet, think like, what is this? What is this about this person or this thing or this choice in this medium or this show that I don't like? Why don't I like it? And who knows? Maybe you'll learn something about yourself.
Yeah, like on the personal note thing, to apparently go back to Josh at one last time. He sent, I was going to say it to you after, but I feel like it's something that you kind of touched on. He said, on a personal note, watching you process Vilya being revealed as Keyleth's mom made this Marine combat vet cry more happy tears than he cares to admit. So, I mean, it's like, I think that kind of speaks to what you're saying as far as the, I'm Josh's best fucking friend right now.
I know. I'm now envisioning Josh as this like suave hot boy Josh.
Hey, let's chill out. Let's chill out on fucking Josh right now. Let's chill out. Hey, my wife's with me now. Yeah. Okay, let's see. She had a chance to be with an alpha male, but she's with me. Hey, it's just me interrupting myself again to thank one of the fantastic sponsors today, Brooklinen. You know, with the world the way that it is, things that bring you joy, comfort, and emphasize the idea of starting fresh are all really exciting. And that is where Brooklinen comes in. I mean, honestly, we have every bedroom and bathroom in the new house stocked with Brooklinen products. Super plush bath towels, lightweight comforters, the most comfortable sheets ever, just to name a few. With their birthday sale happening this weekend, Brooklinen is offering site-wide savings on all things comfort for their biggest sale of the year. So you can snag some stuff for your home too. Brooklinen's husband and wife founder duo Rich and Vicky work directly with manufacturers to ensure premium, high-quality comfort without breaking the bank. And that means ridiculously soft bedding, towels, and loungewear at a fraction of the retail price. And with 75,000 five-star reviews and counting, Brooklinen is so confident that you will love everything. They even offer a 365-day warranty. Get everything you need for a spring refresh during Brooklinen's biggest sale of the year. Shop the Brooklinen birthday sale starting this weekend. And if you happen to be listening to the podcast after the sale, do not worry. You can still go to brooklinen.com and use promo code DeFranco to get $20 off any purchase of $100 or more. That's BROOKLINEN.com and enter promo code DeFranco to get $20 off any purchase of $100 or more. Brooklinen, everything you need to live your most comfortable life. So yeah, check it out. Let's go back to the podcast. All right, let's see. You kind of touched on this, but Justin has an interesting question of what's the biggest lessons and learnings from your journey from actor to producer? Also, they say you've done a hell of a job.
Thanks, dude. I think it really it reassured in me that I don't think anyone should expect one thing to fulfill them. Yes, I enjoy acting. Yes, I enjoy performing, but that's not the only thing that creatively fulfills me. A lot of acting, honestly, I started finding to be a little bit, how do I put this? Like, I don't want to say derivative, but it was always me embodying somebody else's words and somebody else's writing and the story that they wanted to tell. And I love playing that part in an overall production and lending that piece of the puzzle when I am a performer. But also, I like writing too, and I want to tell my own stories, and I have other ideas. So being able to embrace those open doors and accepting that I don't think anyone should be expected to feel completely yeah, like fill and full of themselves fulfilled is what I
Fulfilled.
mean.
Yeah.
With just one creative endeavor. I think it takes many things. And I love it. I love it. I love producing. I love being behind the camera. I think there's a reason why so many actors in Hollywood end up transitioning to producer roles or director roles or executive producer roles. And eventually, like, to be totally honest, in being in front of the camera all the time is exhausting. So kind of playing a different role and also elevating other voices and elevating other people to be in front of the camera, I really enjoy, and I love being able to do that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with that idea, because I know that I do get joy out of helping people and being kind of the behind the scenes connector and then seeing, it all work out. But if I didn't also have the thing that helps me feed that annoying silent voice in my head that needs to be fed and keep my ego alive by being in front of the camera, I don't know if I would still get as much joy from that.
Yeah.
Because it's not the main thing that I do.
Sure.
Because I don't define myself on that. And it's just like, I'm like, oh, this is like extra toppings on this already great Sunday. Whereas, like, if I focused mainly on all that stuff, I might realize I'm not actually that great at it. and it's just, I'm good for it as a side thing. So I don't know.
I mean, of course, once again, not to like mutual fan out here or anything, but Matt and I know he mentioned it as well. We've been following you for a while now, for at least over 10 years. So, yeah, I mean, from watching your journey, just even like as a creator in the space, has been fascinating. And I'd say you do a pretty damn good job at doing all of the things. Of course, I haven't worked under you or worked, adjacent with you, so I can't speak personally on that. But
yeah, no, I say this constantly in case any story ever comes out. I'm a horrible boss. Like, I try to find really capable people and hope that they can do a job without me staying on top of them, because I'm a horrible boss. I am not a good collaborator. I need everything to be fucking about me. When we had SourceFed, I was overjoyed to be surrounded by people that were far more talented than me, and it brought me joy because they just funniest fucking people, like at a level that I'll never be at. But as a boss, I'm not good, man. It took me many years to realize that. But I'm a great Philip DeFranco. I'm a pretty good dad and husband. I suck at everything else.
What part about it this feels like you're a bad boss? Do you feel like it's the leadership or the collaborative issue?
I have two people in my head. I have I'm always right, everything's about me, everyone needs to shut the fuck up and suck it up. And then I'm a big people pleaser. I want all the people a part of a project to feel equally loved and supported. And if anyone has a complaint, how do we fix that? But also, if you complain, what the fuck are you complaining about? This is a dope ass job. Like, it's two different people. And so everything, I feel like, especially with the pandemic and it's like primarily no face-to-faces, I try to be to the point that you were saying, like, you say a good thing, a bad thing, and then a good thing. There was a period of me as a boss where I like a parent that didn't realize. I thought it was like always and understood how much I admired and loved the people that I work with, even if I didn't vocalize it. And so, but the only thing they were hearing from me, if anything, was criticism, or the people that I had put into place that maybe were less than ideal to them. Instead of it being seen as like just another person, maybe that's coming from Phil. So what I ended up realizing years later was there were a number of people that just had negative experiences with me, because the thing would get so big, and I was very passive aggressive at that time, but because I didn't know how to handle the responsibility.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's why a lot of like what I'm trying to think of moving forward is just me. I'm focused on me and and like working with as few people in a close way where if they fuck up, it's not a big deal. Like
Sure.
I've really enjoyed over the past year working with a whole slew of artists for our clothing and our apparel, because for the longest time I had kind of shot that off, and so for me it's been this really interesting creative expression for myself, but also working with people that are infinitely more talented in a realm that I'm fascinated by.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, but also wait, so I gotta bring back to this because I was gonna all of a sudden search because so I can't find half of my fucking videos anymore. Matt said you shot with me when like years ago, and I don't think I've been able to find this video. Probably because it's not my brand anymore.
Yeah, it might be gone. It might be gone for forever. Because okay, this is going back to that 2008, 2009 when I was hustling. I was a lowly web person, just really starting to get my footing, like just kind of really starting to come into myself as a personality. So it was like, yeah, any type of collaborative opportunity. But you were doing the ninja game where
Okay, wait. I don't see you. Well, you did ninja.
it was, yes, and it was like describing ninja, and we were in your office, like, or in the studio, slapping people's hands.
This is like that weird place that's like at the end of an alley, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that studio. God, that was such a janky studio. Yes.
It was me and like a handful of other people that were in there, and we all got like insert shots of us doing like turnarounds to the camera that were these like ninja poses, and we were all kind of like loosely dressed like Charlie's Angels. But
I'm like, I found one of the videos. It's not you. Then there's me with wearing a fucking weird jacket. Like, okay, I think I found, because I think I found a slew of them, but I don't see you. This is, sorry, I gotta find.
I know yeah. I remember being in like a black and silver, like kind of corsety like top, and like I was in like black and silver because ninjas.
Wait, sorry, I'm scrubbing. These videos make no sense, by the way.
It was an era.
It's an era that I'm glad is gone.
Yeah.
It's an era that I'm glad is gone. Oh,
it was definitely.
How do I hate the person I was for 27 years? Anyway,
it's that evolution, and I mean, yeah.
Hey, I said that I regret my first 27 years of existence. What is one of your biggest regrets, Marisha?
Oh my God. One of my biggest regrets. Holy shit. What are one of my biggest regrets?
That I can legally talk about.
Right? I know, right?
This fucking business.
I do think there have been plenty of. I do think this industry and this business, like you said, it does have its costs. It's not without kind of demanding a piece of your soul as payment. And especially, the older I get, the longer that I'm in this and doing this, and you can kind of start to look back on the bigger picture and kind of look back in hindsight on things and kind of see, I guess, like chunks of your life or yourself that have kind of fallen away. And so much of it, I think, is because it's this lifestyle can be very isolating, and it's very hard for people who aren't in it to understand it and understand the issues and the hardships that do come with it, because as you hear so many people in this space talk about, you never want to complain. Like, we're so #blessed and we're so lucky and our community is amazing, and I get to create bullshit on the internet for a living. It's fucking amazing. So you never want to complain. You never want to, especially the people who don't understand, or especially your audience who does so much to support you and uplift you. So I do think there are elements where I know I've let relationships and friendships fall to the wayside that I wish I hadn't, or misunderstandings that I'm very much somebody who, if I kind of feel like a relationship is getting too difficult or too much confrontation, or this person is just like so taxing on my life, I'm kind of a cut and run person, for lack of a better, for better or for worse, I guess. And I think sometimes that's good. Sometimes Matt's like, I wish I had a little bit more of that in me. And I sometimes wish I had a little bit more of what Matt has, which is being a little bit more understanding and wanting to, make sure things are talked out or worked out, even if it's this person is borderline taking advantage or being abusive towards you. He will try to come to an understanding, and I admire that so deeply. So why we're such a good team. So we balance each other out very well. But yeah, I mean, definitely, even like certain family members, there's a reason why people in this industry kind of start flocking together and are friends with each other. And it's because it's just hard to understand from the outside in. And it really can be lonely. And I think that's always wild to hear coming from people who have hundreds of thousands of Twitter followers. And I think people are like, what the hell are you talking about? But yeah, there is like an isolation factor to it, I think.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, I know that parasocial relationships has been like a big word getting thrown around by like more and more people over the past month. But it is very easy in how isolating this job can be to also feel that with, and it's weird because it's like when you get to see people, then it's on an individual basis, but like supporters as a whole, like we think of like the community as a whole, like I feel more at home there and more confident there and more secure there than if it was just someone else that is a part of the industry, because I know that the people that are part of my community are just down with what I'm trying to do. Yeah. Whereas like the people that, especially if there's a closeness, there's proximity, there are goals, I don't know if I can trust them. And a lot of the time it ends up being unfair to them because a lot of the time they're just wanting to do stuff. But I've also been, everyone has it in this industry where it's like, you're just like, oh, and then I got taken advantage of or fucked. And so, and it messes up relationships. So yeah, I mean, I was like, the more that I talk to people, especially in our space, the more it's like, I have 2 or 3 friends, and that's usually a high number. And then there's also a bunch of other people that are around, but we're friendly, or they're like people I work with. Yeah. And it's the people that say like, I have 20 friends. I'm like, no, you don't. Yeah, you don't. You don't. No. I was like, I wish you did. And you may think you do, but you don't.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I, especially as time goes on, I am super happy with the like handful of friends that I do have. And Matt and I have had this conversation a few times, and this is going to sound real shitty, so I apologize. I don't want any more friends. I'm good.
That's fine. Yeah.
Because it's exactly like you said. It's hard when you start coming from this place and you never know people's motivations. And then it's like, it's so much work getting to know somebody, and I'm so tired.
Yeah, anytime. Yeah, it's very, whenever someone like comes into my life somehow and I'm like, you don't, and this, it's such a shitty thing to say. And my wife has justly like criticized me for it. I unfortunately feel inconvenienced by 90% of people. Not like if you're if you watch the show or a community and you want a picture and you want to talk, that doesn't bother me. But 90% of human beings, I feel taxed, and it's not their fault. It's like, absolutely. It's not their fault. And like when someone all of a sudden comes in and we're like vibing, I'm like, oh, that's right. This is what human interaction is supposed to be. And so, yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, it's got to be easy now for me. Like, if it feels like this relationship is going to take a lot of work, then I'm like, if it's got to be seamless, it's got to be a flow, because I don't have time, and I feel it's so hard to explain to outside people sometimes, because we've had friends who have, you get the dreaded text, that's like, hey, I just, you haven't been responding to me. And, I feel like this is just like a one-way relationship, and I'm just not getting, I'm not getting enough from you. And, I don't know, like, are you mad at me? You get those texts of, hey, you didn't respond. Are you mad at me? And you're like, no, I'm not at all. I swear. I know it's hard when I say I just worked a 14-hour day and I'm going to work another 14-hour day tomorrow. And I know it might be hard to like believe, or that sounds like an excuse, but I swear it's not intentional neglect. And then like you just feel like shit, right?
Yeah.
You're like, well, fuck, I'm the asshole.
And if you but the thing is, then if you keep those relationships going, you're just saying, I want to feel this more.
Right.
Like
So you end up cutting those off.
Yeah. And sometimes it's almost, I feel like what I've learned, and it's this unfortunate thing because it feels like the dick move, is like almost just letting it happen naturally. Because anytime I or someone else has like tried to be the adults and have the conversation, like, hey, here's the thing, my life's fucking insane right now. And this is just like, it's really hard to keep up and it's taxing. And then it's like, and then it always turns into something else. And then especially because if you have like any standing in the community, like they might passive aggressively or like, subtweet, and then it becomes a whole fucking thing. I go out of my way to just keep my shit private. Not everyone goes along with that, but I think that's the right move though. You end up just being, everyone said it, but you end up being just like the people and the things you keep around you. And obviously everyone goes through hard things, but if someone is always that, I don't got the time, man. I'm 35. I'm going to die in the next 5 to 50 years. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I don't want it to be while I'm listening to you make me feel guilty.
Yeah. Well, the longer you're on YouTube, it's probably closer to that 5 to 10 year mark. So
no, man, we've been talking about it. We we were looking at we got like this deal that it's for 3 to 5 years. And I was like, am I going to be here? I was like, I'm going to be on YouTube for 20 years. Fuck. Okay. I mean, I still love what I do, but that's like, I was like, I feel like I just need to switch it up just because isn't it boring if I have the same job for that long?
Have you? Because you have it does feel like you've reinvented yourself a decent amount of times. Even if it's slow.
Yeah. I mean, the early days was definitely Dane Cook-esque douche bro. That's it. And then I started actually having conversations with people that weren't just like me, and I slowly became a little more knowledgeable and empathetic. And I think the whatchamacallit, the 2016 election really changed my mind about a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know even just in the past year or so too, you've also you've pulled back a decent amount on inserting your opinion.
I feel like I do it more. I get more people now that are like,
really?
Now? Yeah. Well, because here's the thing. Like if we covered the George Floyd protests or stuff like that 5 years ago, I would have probably done some fucking weird little back and forth, both sides equal sort of dumb bullshit. And hey, they're both sides of the stories, but I think I just got, the way that I put it is, I used to be fucking horrified if I got 500 dislikes on a video. I used to be fucking freaked out. Oh my God, I'm doing something wrong. I wasn't even enough. And now if I don't get 2,000 dislikes on a video, I'm like, maybe I just didn't talk about something interesting enough or share my opinion on something.
Oh, wow.
Because it's but I've always kind of ebbed and flowed with change or sharing my opinion. But for the most part, I think there's just a portion of the population that just doesn't like my opinion before. My opinion before was I'm going to make everything seem different. Like that was my whole, or seem different, seem equal.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's misleading in its own way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. So I understand that there's situations that there's nuance, there's gray area, but it's misleading and a detriment to society to provide a gray area on black and white situations.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest change for me. And we'll see. And I think also I'm kind of over the idea of I need to make something bigger than myself. If I can enable other people and help them, like right now we have like this side agency that initially we made just to sell ads on my content, but now we're starting to onboard other creators and help them out. And that's like bringing me joy. And I think for me, it's that and just, yeah, other stuff outside of YouTube that I'm trying to focus on. Because while I don't think I would be a good producer, I do think I would be fantastic at not doing anything and still allowing things to make me money. I think I would be great at that. I think I'd be solid at that.
That's the ultimate dream, right?
I'm trying to get a boat and only answer a few calls. Sorry, I was on the water. I couldn't get you, but I'm hitting you back. I want that to be a sentence I can say in 2 years.
Oh, well, you'll get there. That's easy.
That's the hope.
Yeah.
John Horzen asks, what first enchanted you about performing, just in general?
Man, I like, full disclosure, I was one of those kids who was forcing my parents to sit down, when I was like 4, so they had to watch my entire one-woman recreation of The Wizard of Oz. So
really? Wow.
I was always into performing and making people laugh, and just I started realizing, you affect people's emotions with this power. Maybe that's, oh no, am I manipulative? Oh no, maybe I was a manipulative little girl. But yeah, I was like, oh, this, when done right, it's magic. And especially like if you're doing comedy or even something serious and you hear that rush of laughter, because I started on the stage, and still even to this day, nothing compares to being on stage, because you're talking about that validation from the audience and kind of needing that to feed the ego. Oh my God. I mean, when you have like 3,000 fans that are all singing your theme song together, and if you roll a natural 20, 3,000 people jump to their feet and just start screaming their heads off. I mean, it's like, it's amazing. It's the most incredible feeling in the world. And there's no adrenaline rush that compares to that. So I think that is what I do, has always intrigued me, and what I still love about being a performer. Even, yes, the harassment has definitely kind of balanced itself out. I think found a good balance here recently with my characters, but I'll still make choices in our show that people hate or people love. And I'd be lying if I said, but I don't see those emotional reactions sometimes of people being like, I can't believe she did this. I'm like, ooh, I'm making you feel something. Nom, 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 nom.
Yeah.
Even if you're upset at something my character did in a fictional, imaginary, liminal space, that's amazing. I just made you feel something from across the globe through a computer screen, and that's art, baby. Yeah. So that's what I love.
Yeah. Marisha, Ann wants to know what advice would you give to your younger self?
Oh man. Okay, here we go. I actually recently had a breakthrough kind of on this topic in therapy, where I was talking about how I feel here recently struggling with the idea of often maybe having to over explain myself or justify my position, or and I know I'm a defensive person. I deeply am aware of that. I've never had a problem of knowing who I was. Always, even as a kid, I looked back and I was always pretty secure in that. Always walked to the beat of my own drum. So that I know I was never really the struggle. The struggle was having to defend who that person was and who I am all the time, and justify it. And so I was talking with my therapist about this, like, I don't even know where it came from. Like, why do I do this? And she's been my therapist for a while. She starts listing off all of these things going back to my childhood of, well, she's like, you've literally had to do this your entire life, back to when I had kids making fun of me in school because I was going off and doing acting, and I was going to these summer camps where I would go to New York and do these like acting camps or these dance camps, and was always in the school play. And so the rhetoric around me became, oh, you're just so full of yourself. You just love the attention. You're just have this ego on you, Marisha, the actress. Because I was going to school in like a podunk town in Kentucky. It was, was the middle of nowhere. So I was that eccentric kid throughout all of public school in Kentucky. And between that and then even some like shitty times that I had in college, where once again the rhetoric became egotistical actress bitch, to coming out in LA and then becoming a woman online. And I was hosting in the video game space during Gamergate and having to justify my position as a woman in the space and hearing horrible fucking things being shouted at me from strangers. So she kind of hit, and I just like instantly broke out into tears and started crying because I hadn't really thought about the lineup that I've had to literally defend what I love and what I want to do since I was a little girl. And that I just love, for the reasons I just talked about, I just love performing. You're not criticizing, Chad over here for his love of basketball. You're not like, oh, little basketball star Chad, ooh, what are you going to get, a scholarship for that basketball? Look at you and your ego. Like, no, you're not doing that to other people who have passions and joys. So I've always had to kind of have that defense mechanism of like, no, this is what I want to do. This is who I am. I know I'm good at it. Fuck you. And seeing that trend. So I think if I could go back to little Marisha and just be like, people are going to give you shit. People are going to give you shit for just wanting to do you your whole life. And you know what? Fuck it. Just keep ignoring it, because as long as you continue to do you, it will lead to good things. And thank God that I did. Because
I think
here I am.
that's the thing, is like, I think you need to have that like, I don't know if anger is the right word, but a little bit of a fuck you mentality as a woman in the industry. And the only reason I'm even aware of that is like, my main EP and partner here is a woman, and she's had to deal with fucking countless conversations where like they don't act like she has the power that her position has. And it's like and when I talk to Phil, like that'll like, no, she's in the fucking position,
she's in the room.
Yeah. And so it's just like, it's a great indicator of who the fuck you're dealing with as far as like the quality of people. And so like, we've been able to go like, oh, that's not a person I want to work with. But it's, you think that it wouldn't be as rampant today as it still is, but it is. Like you still like, I think the hard thing is for an audience member or like someone that's watching online, you might just think like, oh, the public stuff, but it's like, it's in every facet of the industry.
Absolutely.
And that's why you often see when people find a good group, they stay with them for a while.
Yep.
Cause yeah, it's everyone thinks of California as this hippy dippy super progressive place, but
it's got weird pockets.
Yeah,
LA's,
especially when suits are involved.
Yeah, absolutely, and it gets gross and it gets icky, and yeah, you have to have those shields, and like LA is a tough town. I think it is absolutely within every Los Angelonian's responsibility to, if anyone new comes to this city, to tell them, go home. Don't come here. And like everyone needs a disclaimer when they come to Los Angeles. And it's those who understand what they're getting into and are willing to persevere through it that can make it. But I think all the time about it, and I've done well in this industry and I enjoy this industry, but I also know how to put this in a way that's not going to seem offensive. I also know that I have the mental fortitude to be able to handle it. And I'm not saying that it doesn't still get to me, but I can take a few steps back and kind of look at things a little bit more objectively. And I think if you're a super sensitive person or someone who doesn't do well with rejection, or, dealing with the boss that's like, tough shit, deal with it, this has to get out on time. Mm-hmm. If you're not prepped for that, then it's tough, and it can be tough on someone's overall mental health. And I just try to warn people of that all the time when they say, I want to do this. So
just be prepped.
Just prepped. Know. Yeah. Cause I'm sure you've seen your fair share of mental breakdowns and people that are like, I'm out, peace. And then they just disappear from the city. Like it happens.
Yeah. I mean, I don't pride myself on it, but I've been in meetings where someone will just cry and I'm just like, okay, I'm going to let you have it or like experience it. I don't know what to do, but yeah, it's a hard thing for a lot of people. And yeah. Hey, it's me with another shout out for one of my fantastic sponsors, DoorDash. Dinner? Check. Ran out of deodorant? Check. Morning pick me up from Dunkin' when you're running late? Check. Get everything you need whenever you need with DoorDash. With over 300,000 partners in the US, Puerto Rico, Canada, and Australia, using DoorDash, you can support your local go-tos or choose from your favorite national chains. Ordering is so easy. You just open the DoorDash app, you choose what you want to eat, and your food will be left safely outside your door with their new contactless delivery drop-off setting. And get this, it is not just food. Now you can get the grocery essentials that you need with DoorDash too. Get those drinks, snacks, and other household items all delivered in under an hour. For a limited time, our listeners can get 25% off and zero delivery fees on their first order of $15 or more when you download the DoorDash app and enter in code DeFranco2021. That's 25% off up to a $10 value and zero delivery fees on your first order when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter in code DeFranco2021. Don't forget, that is code DeFranco2021. That is code DeFranco2021 for 25% off your first order with DoorDash. Offer subject to change and terms apply. But with that said, now back to the podcast. Marisha, how far can you trace your family back? I'm just kind of, I know that's like a random question compared to where we were, but it's been in my head because I've been talking to some friends about it recently. I don't know you. I know you said Kentucky, so I don't know what the background is.
From Kentucky, born and raised. My grandfather was he owned an orchard in Kentucky, and then still have a lot of uncles and family members who own orchards and cow farms. My uncle is a dairy farmer. So yeah, I kind of come from realistically a family of farmers and blue collar workers, and my mom's a dog groomer, and my dad sells truck tires to big old semi fleets. So and then I have memories of being young. My grandfather dealt primarily in tobacco, was a tobacco farmer. And by the time I was like 5, 6, he was like, "Can you lift this tobacco stake? Can you carry this? Try it." And I'd be like, "Yeah." And he'd be like, "Cool. Get on the back of the truck. We're going to work."
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
old school farm family in that way. I do remember doing that.
No, I think get them working young. As long as it's like, it's like a family business.
I love
Do
it. I get like a little heifer over manual labor. I just I love it. You're like, "Hey, I need you to get up back and chop some wood, or I need you to do this landscaping. This tree is not going to trim itself." I'm like, "Yeah, let's do this."
I'm the same way with everything except if you hand me a weed eater, I'll act like I suffer from PTSD because I fucking can't. It's the one tool I can't. My punishment with my stepdad there for a while, I guess ex-stepdad, but was I'd have to do the lawn, but because it was at such an insane slope, because we had a lot of land, or well, he had a lot of land when my mom stayed with him, that I would have to do the weed eating. I'd have to weed eat the entire thing, and it was also rocky. I got like 2 eye infections from it, like shooting into my eye, and them like not taking me to the to the eye doctor to put in drops. So yeah, but everything else, it brings me joy and calm.
Yes. Yeah. There's a certain zen that you can get at, and like just, I don't know, a little endorphin rush. It's good.
Yeah,
I like it.
What? Wait. So, did your parents ever push you to anything, or were they skeptical of your career path early on?
I am extremely blessed that I had very supportive parents. Almost to the point of, once again, where I moved to Los Angeles when I was 19, didn't know anybody out here. And they essentially drove me out here and dropped me off. I didn't have a car. And I, once again, now being in my 30s, look back and I'm like, holy shit. What were they thinking? What were any of us thinking? If I had a daughter, I would not drop her off in Van Nuys alone with nobody at the age of 19. I would not do that. So I think about the fact that they were like, "Hell yeah, go for it." Once again, "Hey mom, I'm going to go tap dance on Hollywood Boulevard." "Hell yeah, go for it." So they were deeply supportive, maybe to a point where it could have been bad. But
I love that. Well, it sounds like maybe I'm wrong. I mean, it sounds like, is salt of the earth people? Was that an accurate description? Like they're
very salt of the earth. I think they wanted me to have a better life than they did. So I think they kind of saw it as this ticket out, that this could be your road, this could be your path. And they weren't wrong. And even though they're, salt of the earth and blue collar, my dad, both of them are very creative people. My dad really kind of turned me on to my love of music and all the classics and classic rock and whatnot. And, from my mom, I get my more crafty side and a little bit more of my like dramatic and theatrical side, I'd say, from my mom. So yeah, there always was still surrounded by that creativity, and it was something that they really love and enjoy. I mean, my dad still to this day is like, "Man, I kind of want to be a DJ. Like, I wish I would have become like a radio DJ." And I'm like, still time, man.
Yeah.
Why not?
Why not? Just try. Just start a Twitch stream. There'll be 6 people watching.
Hey.
Do it.
I don't know if you've been hot on this trend of DJs on Twitch. It's fucking great.
It's huge.
Live DJs on Twitch. I love it.
I like they also pop up in like TikTok live streams and Reddit live streams and stuff like that.
Yeah, Instagram live streams. I'm so here for it. It feels like the new wave of, broadcasting music, as long as, it's not totally squashed into the earth.
Marisha, I feel like you haven't said anything that's going to alienate people, so I want to ask you, what happens when we die?
What happens when we die? What?
What do you think happens when we die?
Holy shit. Okay. I'm not a religious person, so you can get that out of the way.
Sure. Sorry. It just brings me joy.
Because it's like, oh, how crazy do you want to sound? I do always try to give credence to the fact that there is still so much shit that we don't know.
Sure.
Especially in science, and like when you really want to start getting into the nitty gritty of quantum physics and multiverse theory and all those things, and cell memory. That's the other thing too, or like molecule memory, how like atoms can remember. Maybe I also don't want to butch a bunch of scientific papers that are like, yeah, I could just see Michio Kaku like having a nosebleed right now, and he doesn't know why. But I feel like everything is a cycle, right? And when we die, we go back into that cycle. So is there life after death? Yes, in a way, in a sense that, you know, we will our atoms get thrown back into this crazy solar system and gets used again. So I get a little bit of respite and comfort in that. Whether it's consciousness again, I don't know. I don't know. Trying to just harness this crazy miracle of this bundle of molecules that I am that happens to have consciousness. Like that alone just feels like it's such a crazy miracle of nature. So always try to not take that for granted, because there's a lot of molecules. Most of them can't think or make dumb web videos. So I'm glad that I'm a bunch of molecules that can.
I like that. In a dream world for me, reincarnation's real, and we get to, and we're all one, and we get to just like experience everything until the heat death of of the universe.
I would love that.
But yeah, I don't know. Luckily I'm just too busy to think about it. So thank you for giving me your thing to ponder when I get a little bit too high as I try to go to sleep tonight.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a question.
Oh wait,
no, go for it. What?
I was just saying, how existential do you get? Because like the existential dread can come on pretty strong sometimes.
You know what? You're talking about the things that made you a more empathetic person. Honestly, after the first time I did mushrooms, I feel like I became a far more empathetic person.
Hell yeah.
It made me look up to the sky for the first time in years and years and years. And I've noticed that it always tends to, it's like with a camera that has like a very shallow depth of field, it makes you focus on things a lot more than you would and appreciate. So, yeah, I don't think I answered your question. What was your question again?
Do you get existential?
Oh, yeah, not often. I think it's that. Otherwise, I'm like laser focused on the next 2 to 5 years for my life because not to bring it down. So I have polycystic kidney disease. In the next 5 years, it's really going to start doing a number on me. So I'm like, I need to get to a place where I know myself, my family, everything is going to be fine.
Sure.
If I all of a sudden have to do like dialysis every day, if I have to start doing that. So it's really more, and there's a kind of a freedom in that because you don't like, while I'm obviously still having to handle all the real life shit, if I don't have a definitive goal, I'm lost as a person. Like when I was younger, it was definitely chasing, views and subscribers and that feeling. Whereas now the things that I chase is one, I want to have locked in stability based off of what I do in the next 5 years. And I'm very fortunate enough to be in a position where I could actually lock that down, like realistically. And secondarily, like being a good dad, because but then figuring out how to navigate those two things, because I can easily do the first thing to the detriment of the second. Right. Yeah. And that's the last thing I want to have, because like my kids are at such a dope age. Like they're the little one finally got past his asshole phase. He's like 3.5. Like he had the terrible twos, whatever the fuck it is for 3, troublesome 3. I don't know. It's something else. But he's dope and he's smart and he's funny. And so is the older one. And, like when we find things that we enjoy, I love it. Today, I actually became cool to him because he saw MrBeast do a video with a bunch of his like play buttons. And I was like, Dad has some. And he was like, no, you don't. And I was like, what do you think I do all day? What do you think I do? You've seen me on YouTube. This is what do you think? And so he's on, I think, a Zoom class still, but I showed him this morning. He's like, whoa, this is so cool. He goes, but you don't have a diamond one. And I was like, fine, I don't care. Because he has it in his head. We were jumping on the trampoline like 2 weeks ago, and this kid tells me, hey, if you die, don't worry. I'll move in with MrBeast and he's way richer than you. And I was like, you're just killing me with this MrBeast stuff. No. You can't compare me to MrBeast. Everyone is garbage in their level of success compared to this guy. And hey, Jimmy's a great guy. Yeah. I was going to call him a kid, but he's a grown man killing it. But I was like, I liked you more when you watched Ryan Toy's review. Yeah. I liked when that was your life, not that you're comparing me now to another, like a peer. But he's gonna be fine apparently if I'm dead. He's gonna be great.
I guess you're being a good dad. There's that security you're talking about, making sure he's gonna be okay.
No, well, the best and worst thing was getting him into video games, because like. We're having a lot of fun playing It Takes Two together. It's really fun. As the game gets harder, it's also a practice in being patient, like settling down my gamer rage, and not inflicting it upon a 6-year-old. But also it's bad because this dude right now he's I have my mother-in-law in to help with Lindsay. She just had surgery, and so he loves sleeping in. We have this guest house, and Grandma sleeps there. He sleeps there. This little fucking dude snuck out the window, went to my gaming room, and was like playing all night. And he was like, and part of me was angry, and then part of me was like, that's pretty dope.
Yeah.
He did that. I was like, I hope he remembers that. I hope he remembers that he snuck out of the fucking window, and then snuck into the other window so to not, and I was like, okay, so one, and since this happened, we got fucking sensors on the window, because apparently that's a thing that I have to do now.
Yeah, if your 6-year-old can perform a little midnight B&E, then,
got an issue.
So... But that feels like such a video gamer rite of passage. Like I'm like, hats off, because I remember getting in trouble for that shit. My parents waking up at like 2 and 3 a.m. because I went downstairs and started playing Mario, and they're like, get the fuck to bed. What are you doing? So yeah, I'm proud of him.
Yeah, well, he's at a disadvantage compared to us because he's not gonna have technologically illiterate parents, right? Because like with my mom, when I was little, I'd be like, yeah, the computer's off. You just turn off the TV or the monitor. And they're like, okay, that adds up.
That does it.
I'm not gonna wonder why that thing still sounds like a fucking jet engine, and then go up to bed. So yeah, no, I think you're very right. Yeah, it's a gamer rite of passage, gaming when you're not supposed to. And that also, I will say, it makes you an empathetic person, because my oldest is a very sensitive boy. He's like a little kids do. Sometimes he takes everything literally. So he'll wrestle with me and punch me, and I'll be like, oh, I got him. Oh, he's getting choked out. And he's like, you're trying to kill me. And I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, what are you talking about? I hugged you and said a funny thing.
Yeah. Do not say that to strangers, please.
Yeah.
Please.
No, I was like, this kid's going to say this shit at school. Someone's going to show up. I was like, that's going to be the lesson he learns is like, oh, I can't just, it's the same thing of like, he knows that if he says that he's sick, he can get out of school for 2 weeks. And so I'm like, but understand if you do that, like it's going to do this and this and this and this and this. Cause there was one time where he faked a cough. He faked a cough and he got out of school for a week. And I was like, you little, I'm going to show you. It's going to be the worst week of your life.
Yeah.
You're going to be in your room. Like,
stay in bed.
Like when you're that age and you got that much energy, doing nothing is pain.
Yeah.
Is pain. Well, I get to draw. You'll read to me. I hate this. You showed me what video games are. How dare you? Actually, I'm interested in this. This is a question from the card. If I had your job, what do you think I'd find most challenging about it?
I feel like this is cheating a little bit because I feel like you kind of already revealed your hand on this one earlier. Because I think it would be having to navigate the creative partnership and having to just do the tap dance, the little song and dance about making sure your creatives are feeling appreciated, but also, I'm your boss, though. So there's that.
So then let's flip it then. What do you think would be the most challenging part if you had to do my job?
I constantly marvel at the turnaround that you guys work at to be able to do like a 15 to 20 minute show a day. And I know what type of work goes into that and the research. I would be absolutely terrified of the risk that comes with spreading news that's incorrect or getting something wrong or having to feel like, oh shit, I got duped with the way that people can nowadays. And I just shared the story that is 100% false. Damn it. I would struggle with that. I would be so paranoid on a daily basis, like the anxiety that it would put me under of like, are we doing a bad? Is this a bad? I would have a hard time with that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the rough thing is I pride myself on my track record, and then you get one thing slightly wrong, and then people hold it on you.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's part of the reason I don't tweet about news that much because I'm always like, let's see what's actually happening because it feels like 24 hours after anything comes out, it's like actually, and I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time we do like yesterday's news today, so we get to act all pompous and be like, well, here's what actually happened. Because there is a race to be first, and because usually, especially on social platforms, you end up being the biggest. But it's such a fucking double-edged sword. Like it's how you grow up that it'll come crashing down on your head.
For
if you're not careful. Unless people don't fucking care about what it is and it fits their narrative, then those people will always be fine.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's that too. I do wonder sometimes because I know, we're obviously seeing the stories that make it. I have to separate myself from the news because I'm one of those people that it can really get to me and I can get it'll spike my adrenaline. I'll get angry because like the world is on fire all the time and people are awful. So you get really angry at those awful people. And if I'm not careful, I can get caught in that cycle. And then it's like, oh shit, I've been on Twitter an hour. I got shit to do. So yeah, I actively have to moderate my news time because it can throw me into depression. So I do think about that all the time, that it is your job to basically be engrossed in it. And there's plenty of stories and other horrible news stories that you're not even covering. And I often wonder of your thought process and the team's thought process of like, let's we're going to go with this horrible story today instead of this one. That one can get conquered by somebody else. Just, yeah, that would be tough for me.
Yeah. It ends up being a bit of a math problem. I mean, we will almost always focus domestically first, in part because it's what affects most of our existing audience, because it's like 65% US. And then even North America, Canada is really hefty. But yeah, I mean, that's really the split. And then us figuring out how we can get people to care about it. Because, I think that's why we mix the pop culture stuff. Because whenever our videos get hit, like suppressed, it hadn't happened in a long time, but one happened last week. YouTube essentially tells us to like just cut the show up into individual stories. And I was like, but that essentially kills it. Because part of the reason the one kind of continued through over the last 15 years is I get people interested usually with like the candy, which is usually like your more pop culture or story that has a face. And then I'm like, and then let's talk about like the lockup in the Senate. Let's talk about that. Let's break down a bill that may have some impact. So it's a little game like that. Hey, just here with another scheduled sponsor shout out. Thanks to the fantastic Upstart. Let's be honest, we all have that one credit card that even just thinking about the balance and the payments, it sends you into a panic. Trust me, we have all been there at one point. And if you've been avoiding your debt, there is no better time than now to confront it. And Upstart is here to help you finally pay it off. It's the fast and easy way to get a personal loan to pay off your debt, and it's all online. Whether it's paying off credit cards, consolidating high interest debt, or funding personal expenses, over 500,000 people have used Upstart to get a simple, fixed monthly payment. And here's how it works. Upstart finds smarter rates with trusted partners because they assess more than just your credit score. With a 5-minute online rate check, you can see your rate upfront for loans from $1,000 to $50,000. And you can even get approved the same day and can receive funds as fast as one business day. If debt is taking over your life, it is time to get a fresh start with Upstart. Find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments today when you go to upstart.com/DeFranco. That is upstart.com/DeFranco. Make sure you use our URL so they know that we sent you. And loan amounts will be determined based on your credit, income, and certain other information provided in your loan application. Go to upstart.com/DeFranco. But with that said, now back to the podcast. Marisha, when do you lie to people and why?
When do I lie? What are these? What happens when you die? When do you lie?
That one was just from my head because I wanted to know. My son, he thinks that based off of YouTube videos, and I think it's like Among Us role play videos. He thinks that like we turn into ghosts, and I don't tell him that I think that heaven doesn't exist, but I think he believes heaven exists. He can find whatever he wants to find, and I'll support him.
Exactly. Let him find it out in time.
Yeah.
Let him keep
I was
going.
especially because that might be his path to religion. Because when people shoved religion on me as a kid, I was like, I hate this.
100%.
Why are you forcing this on me? Yep. I have a feeling. Watch him like he's gonna become a fucking pastor. I mean, like, okay, that's your life, man.
I kind of wonder that a lot. This is a bit of a tangent because I was raised Catholic.
Hey, same. Yeah.
I am not Catholic, so I kind of wonder because I know like religion overall is down in the U.S. by a decent amount, but like that there can always be those swings and those bell curves if it's going to go a different way for the next generation. So wait, okay, when do I lie and why? When do I lie and why? I mean, there's always, your obvious answers, which is your white lies to not hurt anybody's feelings. The lying by omission to maybe not. And there can be so many reasons to lie by omission, and it can be just to like. I often feel like I am the shield too between things that may be going on like a suits level with our company versus my team, and trying to protect against that sometimes, or even like friends or family for other reasons. So I like sometimes it's lying to protect, lying to not throw other people in a panic when maybe they don't need to, or just need to see how things resolve. So I think there's definitely a lot of kind of like strategic picking and choosing sometimes when you're in the position that you're in. If you want to go on a more meta level, I guess, there's also the difference between the Marisha that I allow everyone in the public to see and the at-home Marisha, that Comic-Con variant, the
What
at-home Marisha.
what are the differences?
You try to show people your best for the most part. I do try to be honest and raw with our audience and as who I am as a person. When we're online for the amount of time that we are, like hours a week, sometimes our shows go for sometimes 4 hours. You don't want to do anything too crazy to try and cloak who you might be, because that is dangerous territory. It's a lot of time that people are, those parasocial relationships, people are kind of spending time with me. So it's not that I'm disingenuous with who I am as a person versus, my online persona. But to your point, I think kind of protecting certain elements out of privacy, but then also so that I continue to still feel like a real person. I deal with all the exact same insecurities and complicated emotions as the next person, which is why we try to be honest about the fact that we're in therapy, that we make mistakes. I'm not perfect. I know I've said stupid things and try to learn from those things. But I think it's hard to deny with the way cancel culture and the way things have gone, and this purity standard that seems to be another kind of hot button topic right now, another buzzword. I think it's hard to deny that doesn't affect things and affect that authenticity. Another big word. There's been a lot of people talking about the death of authenticity on the platform. And I see that. I agree with that. I think there's absolutely merit to those critiques and concerns. And I'd be lying if I said that it doesn't worry me or keep me up at night as a creative. That I think something's going to have to give, because I know that people in our industry are struggling with that fear and that anxiety of the eye of Sauron that is internet outrage could turn on you at any moment. And especially with tensions and emotions so high just in the zeitgeist these days. And so there will always be an element of that fear. So you try to put up certain barriers, and it's a defense mechanism. It's out of protecting yourself. So if that makes sense, I don't know if that counts as lying. That might be.
No, it's interesting that you'd characterize it as like a wall or a different person. I've found that over the years, I like accidentally became more and more. Even I changed my name, like more and more of Philip DeFranco. I think I've talked about it to a certain degree. Like I feel like I've become a different person in the sense of like even Philip DeFranco as like a name compared to Philip Branchino, who I was like a little scared, insecure boy. And then I like created this initially Ron Smith character, and then Philip DeFranco character, and then I just like those two kind of just merged. And it was weird, and it was like me realizing, oh, we do become multiple different people over our lifetimes. Are the differences between you at home and then you on camera, are they so different that like you have the potential to become one or another, or it's more like this is Marisha at a 3 and then this is Marisha at a 10 for on camera?
Probably. Oh man, that's tough because it's hard to break it down. but probably more the latter. It's not a Jekyll on Hyde situation. It's definitely like I agree with you. I think there's the person who is Marisha Ray and the person who people see and the audience sees is I as a person have also grown into that personality. Ray is my legal name, but I dropped my legal last name, so it is kind of also like that. Everyone in LA has a fake name type of a thing. So yes, that Marisha Huber that I was, and it's not that I am not still Marisha Huber, but there is Marisha Ray that I have grown into, and I don't want this to come across as that like I'm disingenuine when I'm online or when I'm in front of a camera, because it's not about being disingenuine, but it's Marisha with an awareness. That's probably what it is. It's Marisha with an awareness that cameras are rolling. And I think that's it, really, is like you try to be a little bit more, I try to be responsible with the words that I'm saying. You don't want to say something that you're going to regret. You don't want to be rash. Try to be deliberate and think about the reverberations and the power that I do have with what little niche platform that I hold. It's not a lot, but it is a little. And that is something that I think it's just smart to be aware of. And I think I kind of wish more personalities in the space would be a little bit more aware of that. Whenever you see these personalities get into trouble, if it's like a YouTuber fear, I feel like an unspoken one where you never want to turn on the TV and pull up YouTube and see your face hovering next to Phil DeFranco's in the thumbnail with Phil going like, yeah. Or the face palm.
The thing is, the thing that's unfortunate is the videos that I hate making are the ones that do the best. Because it's like, even the fucking Dobrik coverage that we had to do, like, it's no secret that I've been like rooting for that guy.
Sure.
Like, and I think that like in his heart level, he's probably a great guy. I've had very minimal experiences with him, and then it sucks because it's like, okay, well, this is a story. This is a real thing that happened.
Yeah.
We got to talk about it. And I gotta separate from it. But yeah, it's and I would say that's also one of the big differences between me 10 years ago. Like, I got excited to go to war. Or like to fucking self-righteous asshole Phil is like like I've never, like, obviously, like, that's a whole fucking different level, but it's a weird, that part of my job's weird.
And like you said, especially when it's like these are our peers a lot of times. Like we've been to YouTube mixers together back in the day when you could do that. You know these people. And I really do. It's like just every story about, oh no, this person with a platform did something stupid. It's like, I feel like if they were just a little bit more aware with the power that they do hold and how easily that can be abused or even unintentionally abused. If people were just kind of acknowledged that in the space a little bit more, like, don't fuck your fans. Maybe that, like, those type of thoughts, because there is a power dynamic and it's always going to get you into trouble if you don't acknowledge, even though it's weird. I get it. It's weird because when you think of yourself, you're just like, I'm just making cool shit on the internet. I'm just doing me.
Right.
And yes, but there are people watching you. There are people listening to you. There are people picking apart everything that you say. And there's a responsibility to that. With great power comes great responsibility and all that jazz. That always just feels like the factor so like 9 times out of 10. It's weird to think of yourself as someone with influence, but you do. And the more you accept and acknowledge that, hopefully that comes with a little bit of clarity.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm thinking of several names and I'm like, that's not how I'm going to end this podcast. I'm not going to go out and blast people. But it is. Especially, it's just on my mind now because like there have been people that it's not like I made them big, but that I've platformed on the podcast that it almost makes me like angry. So like almost the opposite of the Dobrik thing. It makes me angry that I like allowed them on this and because it feels like even though like I'm always, whenever I bring someone on, it's me because I want to learn about someone.
Yeah.
It comes off, I think, to a select portion of the audience as me going like, this person's okay.
Right.
Like this person's Phil approved. And then they get associated as like my friend. And I'm like, no. I had this person on the pot. And then I almost have to like go out of my way to be like, no, this is how fucked up what they did. I don't know. It's anyway, this isn't about me. This is about you, Marisha.
Hey, it's it's a conversation. Again.
But also, I don't want every single question to be about the negatives of your job. So I want to say, what's this? I think this is actually kind of connected to one of the questions initially that I overlooked. What is the weirdest job that you ever tried to do? And I think it's more probably for voiceover work than and the best one, that like the one that you have like the most pride in that you got to do.
Let's see. Some of the best.
And the best one is the one we're going out on, because we're going out on high note.
Okay.
We're not going out on the harassment. We're not going out on cancel culture. No. We're not going out on you having to hustle and be Tinkerbell, which by the way, I fucking love that. I didn't know that. That's awesome. Like anyone that had to actually grind, like there will always be a part of me as far as like the generations being like, you came up through a Disney fucking program now with the collab houses and everything like that. You didn't have to I was like, I slept in my car. You're a fucking Tinkerbell in Hollywood. Yes. Okay.
Good times. Let's see. Weirdest job. I know I have lost octaves. I know I have lost I've lost my range the more I've done voiceover, because I do a lot of soldiers, I do a lot of bad guys, I do a lot of screaming, because I have a little bit more of a lower tonality, kind of raspier voice for a woman, so they love putting me in soldier roles. But that comes with a lot of screaming. One of the most recent things that I'm proud of, and that was just super fun. The entire cast of Critical Role, I think it was the very first video game that we were all a part of, circumstantially, was The Last of Us 2. And it's kind of crazy to think like, there's 8 of us, and the fact that we're all in video games across everything. And sometimes it's like, oh, Travis, Matt, and Liam are in this, and Laura and Ashley and Marisha are in this, and we'll have pockets where we're in the same games. But it was the very first game where every single one of us in Critical Role were a part of the same franchise. And I actually, because the amazing, incredible Laura Bailey, who just won a BAFTA for her role as Abby, since she got that role for Last of Us 2, she was also in Last of Us 1 as the spoilers if you haven't finished Last of Us 1, as the nurse at the very end of the game, which you can choose to either let live or kill as Joel. So that was originally Laura. And since she was Abby in Last of Us 2, they have a flashback scene to that moment.
Yeah.
And they had me, they recast me as the nurse to take over for Laura, who, like I said, is, very dear, one of my best friends, business co-owner. So kind of being able to step into a role that, because she was graduating to this amazing role that she won so many awards for and was so well deserved, and that it kind of got passed to someone else in the family.
Yeah, that's
And
awesome. I love
yeah,
that.
it was fun. It was just a fun kind of one of the more recent accomplishments, and of course, Last of Us 2 is just so good. So even having like the tiniest of role a part of that franchise, it was cool to be a part of. I'm gonna say.
I love it. Marisha, thank you for giving me, gosh, is it 2 hours? Over 2 hours.
I know,
You're a
man.
saint.
Crazy.
You're a saint. Not many people can deal with that for me.
I love it. One of these days when we're out of this pandemic, I'll grab Matt and we'll have to actually have some chill drinks or something.
Yes, you can come to what is it called? My pergola. You can come to my pergola.
Ooh.
Yes, we finally have an outside area to sit a year into the pandemic.
I love it. Yeah. Love me a good pergola.
Yeah, I'll make it so that you know, when they write that article that you talked about social anxiety, I'm going to constantly invite you guys.
Right.
You're going to have to come. And you'd be like, we're still worried. But I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. Thank you, man. This was great.